In this episode of Interviews from the Backseat, we talk entrepreneurship with Elf on the Shelf co-author Carol Aebersold.
Well, I think the most important thing is to not lose faith and to not lose hope. And the second thing is, even though you think you can't afford it, always hire for where you want to be and not where you are.
Welcome back to Interviews from the Backseat. I'm very, very excited to have somebody very special to me on this interview. She has been a client of ours for over 12 years. She's a mentor of mine, a friend of mine. She's been a wealth of information and knowledge and wisdom for me as a business owner, but also as an individual. She's taught me more about business and family and faith than just about any other client that I know of. So it's been really exciting to know her, and we're practically family at this point.
That's true.
Yeah. So she's an amazing person, and so hopefully you'll get something out of this too. So let's get started.
All right.
All right. At this point, I would think that just about everybody knows Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah.
You're the co-author to Elf on the Shelf.
Right.
You're in the process of rebranding the company to the Lumistella Company.
That's true.
But this all started with Elf on the Shelf. And I remember, just to get started, I remember when I first met you, you're working out of a real tiny office.
Right.
In Cobb County, and now you're a global brand with products all over the world. You have several books, you have several Christmas shows,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. So I'm excited. So tell me how it all got started with Elf on the Shelf. What was the idea behind Elf on the Shelf?
Well, I had an elf as a child, and I thought everybody had one. And so when I got married, my elf Thisbe came with me. And then when my children were growing up, we started the elf tradition with them. So they had it from the time they were born until now. It's really funny. The children had all grown up, gone to college, some had gotten married, and I was just devastated. Empty nest syndrome hit me so hard, much more so than I ever anticipated. And I was sharing with Shanda how I felt, how desperately hopeless I felt, because we were having some business problems, and I was having some health issues, and it just seemed like the perfect storm of everything going downhill. And she looked at me and she said, "Mom, you've got so much to live for." And our elf Thisbe happened to be sitting on a shelf in the kitchen. And she looked at me and she said, "Mom, you're a great writer. Why don't you write a book?" And I said, "I don't have anything to say." And then she said, "Why don't we write a book about our elf tradition and share it with the world?" And I said, "Oh, Shanda, nobody's going to want to." And I heard this voice deep in my spirit say yes. And so I went, "Okay. Here's the first line. Have you ever wondered how Santa could know if you're naughty or nice each year as you grow? For hundreds of years, it's been a big secret. It now can be shared if you promise to keep it." And then we took off from there.
Yeah. Wow.
It was really funny as we wrote it. We would disagree on rhythm and rhyme and all sorts of things. And my husband would wake up at 2:30 in the morning hearing us go round and round about something. And he said, "Y'all need to go to bed. This will work itself out." So it finally did work itself out.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, so many people have elves on their shelves, and
I know. I wanted to have a legacy for my grandchildren, and now I have about 15 million grandchildren.
Right.
And I love every one of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling. And so and it was a good thing we worked together as partners and not just mother and daughter, and that was interesting and a wonderful experience as well. So it was a growth experience for both of us.
So how did you get from the concept, starting to write the book, you wrote the book, to a global phenomenon? What were some of the milestones?
Oh my gosh, we didn't know anything. And first of all, We wrote this story and we sent it off to 10 different agents, and all of them refused us except one. And she called us and said, I feel in my gut that this is going to be a success. And she said, I've never been wrong. And we were all excited, but that was just like winning the first primary in a presidential race. There was so much more to go. And so every publisher turned us down. They didn't know what to do with it. They said that it was destined for the damaged goods bin, and that people didn't like rhyming books. I said, who knew? Anybody tells Dr. Seuss
Right.
that one. I guess he didn't know either. And we went on, but we got it to be a global phenomenon, just as Churchill said, by blood, sweat, and tears. We didn't know what we didn't know, and I don't know that we would have had it in us to tackle it now, but we were dogged and worked like crazy. And we had a gentleman who was an advisor to us, and he said that people had come in and said to him, I want to have an elf on the shelf. How do I do that? And he said, great. Sell everything you own, work 24/7 for 3 years without a paycheck, and maybe then, if you're lucky, you'll succeed. So that's pretty much what we did.
So if you're interested in becoming an entrepreneur, this is exactly what you got to do.
That's what you got to do. You just have to not lose hope, and that's hard. That's hard to do. But the scripture talks about a threefold cord is not easily broken, and there were the three of us, my 2 daughters and me, plus their husbands and mine, and we were all in it to sink or swim. And one day, one of them was saying, maybe we should just cash it all in, and my husband Bob said, no, failure is not an option here. We're all in this together. And so we swam.
Wow. Yeah, out with the sharks.
Out with the sharks. We were out with the sharks. That's the truth.
Yeah. Wow. And it's such a success now. So that's amazing. What were some of the biggest struggles that you had along the way? You've named kind of a few, but...
Well, the biggest struggle was trying to finance everything.
Right.
And we maxed out every credit card we could get and took out a loan, cashed in our 401k just to get the first run published. And then we had to go from there. Krista sold her house and invested in it. And then the second biggest hurdle we had was that the full title of the book is The Elf on the Shelf, A Christmas Tradition. And we were essentially selling a tradition, and nobody had heard of it, or very few people had.
Right.
And we had to explain what it was and convince people that this is something that they really needed. And it answered the question of how Santa knows who's naughty or nice. And that was really difficult. And I remember we would be at a service league Christmas bazaar or a flea market or something, and we would be handing out balloons and blinking bracelets and anything that we could find that would make a person stop and listen to our elevator speech about how Santa knows who's naughty or nice.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's how we did it. We just worked 24/7, and the scripture says man plans his way, but God directs his steps. And so we believe that God directed our steps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now that you're a big global company, what are some of the struggles that you're facing now?
There's always problems with shipping and logistics and people ordering their things, their merchandise, and getting it on time. I think one of the big struggles that we have is to be fair to our employees and yet be as efficient as possible.
Right.
And we always want to keep in mind that they're people and they deserve thoughtfulness, but we deserve hard work. And so that's one of the big struggles, I think, is trying to find a balance there.
How do you do that? What are some of the things that you're doing to...
Well, we have a lot of team building sort of things where we'll have, okay, come on in, we've brought in pizza for the day, or we brought in donuts, or come on over, or whatever. Of course, we've all been operating not together.
Right, from working from home.
Because of COVID, been working from home. But usually there's something going on, and people, we try to hire people that we think will get along with the other people.
Yeah.
And that's an important aspect of what we do.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
I think one of the biggest lessons is that you must not give up hope, because we got turned down by every publisher known to man. And now that we have a balloon in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, as that balloon comes around the corner by the publishing houses, I just want to go, thank you very much. We self-published, and we still do to this day.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best things that ever happened, although we were terribly disappointed when no one would take us.
Right.
But it turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
And so God has his plan. Another thing is to not be married to the way that you reach your goal. Set your goal and then be flexible in how you reach it. I like to say, if I put an address into my GPS, it may give me 4 different ways to get to the same destination. I'll get to the same destination, but God may have a different way for you to go than the one that you originally thought it was going to be. And I think it's important to be flexible.
Yeah.
But to keep your goal in mind, and that's a non-negotiable, but everything else is, let him guide your steps.
That's awesome. What additional encouragement or inspiration or advice do you have for some of our viewers that are watching?
Well, I think the most important thing is to not lose faith and to not lose hope. And the second thing is, even though you think you can't afford it, always hire for where you want to be and not where you are. You hear that old adage about dress for the position that you want to have and not where you are working. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing, because these people, we always hire smarter than we are. And they're so much more creative and have so many good ideas, and they pay for themselves pretty quickly, even though we think, oh my gosh, there's no way we can pay this salary. And at first it was really a struggle, because we weren't getting paid anything, and we were having to pay people to work for us, but it has paid off.
Yeah, I remember that's one of the things that you taught me very early on is if you find the right person, grab them. Right. It doesn't matter if you don't have the position ready, if you don't have the money, just get them however you can and make it work, because they'll be worth it in the end. So
yeah, I think so. I think that's good advice.
Yeah, I think so too.
I hope it is. I hope it's inspirational to people that we were turned down by everybody and kept on persevering. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being on Interviews from the Backseat and sharing your wisdom and some of your experiences and stuff. You truly are an inspiration. So
thank you.
Thank you. So I hope all of you got something out of this. I know I did. Check back with us for the next Interviews from the Backseat, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, friend us on Facebook, connect with us on LinkedIn, and follow us on Instagram. Till next time, be encouraged and make a difference.